My powerful leaders, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are diving into effectively communicating what we do. How do we get the thousands of ideas that are floating around in our head onto paper, or ultimately into a 60 to 90 second short form piece of content? You are really good at what you do. But then when it comes time to hit record on the camera and make a reel, you might find yourself going off on tangents, feeling like you're not explaining what you want to say as effectively as you could be. Or it seems like people just aren't sharing your work and you're like, I'm so good at what I do, but why isn't anyone sharing my stuff? Why aren't my DMs blowing up with leads? People asking me how to work with me. This is what we want to talk about today. And I'm going to take you through my process on how I get all these ideas floating around in my head, out of my head, and onto paper. So let's dive in. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Powerful Online Leadership Podcast. Whether you want to become an online coach or currently are one, you are here because you are seeking to make lasting changes and a greater impact in this world. With the help of my powerful guest, we are here to help you start and grow your online coaching business by leaning into what makes you powerful, learning what it takes to become a world-class coach, and of course, gaining the tools to monetize, market, and sell your service. If you love the message we are sharing on this podcast, please leave a rating and review on the platform you're listening to. The idea for today's podcast is coming from me writing my sales page for my membership growth that is coming out at the end of October. And I'm writing the sales page. I was sitting in this coffee shop and I had to go to a coffee shop. If you ever go to a coffee shop, it feels like there's other people there working. You just feel like you're in a different zone. You're like, all right, I'm here to work. No distractions. I got my coffee or my tea. I got my hot drink. And I am like zoned in to what I'm doing. And there's so much less distractions if you're in the place that you're always in, if you're at your home office or whatever, just in your home in general, like there's a different type of focus. So I'm at this coffee shop and I'm writing my sales page and I'm on a good roll with some of the copy. And then I'm starting to get a little bit deeper into the pain points, this dream scenario. I'm writing out some ideas and some of my messaging. And I'm just like, I know I am being so wordy. I know I'm writing stuff that's like very much in my own head and not exactly what my client is thinking. I'm not saying it as clearly as I could be. I'm trying to be very clever instead of clear. So I shut my computer and I put a timer, and actually Natalie held me accountable to this because we were going out that night. So I only had an hour in the coffee shop, and then I had an hour and a half for my run, and then I was gonna shower and we were gonna go out. So as a manifest generator, I like to, actually what works better for me is to like more longer sprints. Like if I start getting in a roll, just let me continue to dive into the sales page copy. Let me keep working on this thing because I'm in a flow. I'm so happy I had this 1 hour timer because it stopped me from just kind of working on my sales page without being as effective as I could be. So my hour time is up in the coffee shop and I'm like, all right, close the computer. I'm like, I don't really like what I'm writing, so whatever, it's time for my run. And of course I go on my run and I'm running for, 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden these ideas start popping in. I'm like, oh, this is what I truly want to say about my membership. This is how I want to get across to my ideal client that this is the place you need to be to help you with your messaging, and not being so damn clever, but being more clear. And all the ideas start flooding in. And this is the inspiration for this podcast because I was like, oh, this is, I think, what my clients miss the most. And it really is giving yourself the space to be creative, the space to think about things, the space to let your subconscious mind work a little bit and then have those downloads, right? Have those shower thoughts. And so oftentimes, I believe you guys, and I actually put this on my story and I got a lot of feedback, like hands raised, yes, this is me, that you're like, fuck, it's Thursday. I haven't posted in 6 days and I got to get a post out. So it's like 10 a.m. You're like, I got to call at 11. I got to write this post really quick. I got to record it, or I got to make this carousel and put it out and post it. And whatever I get done is good enough. And then I know there are those of us who struggle with perfectionism. Those of you who post consistently and then maybe have some down periods and are like, shit, I haven't posted in a while, let me get this out. And then you rush a post out and it doesn't do well and you wonder why. Well, it's rushed and it's forced. And that sounds very obvious, but as our good man Alex Hormozi says, oftentimes we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. So here's one reminder onto creating more space for yourself. I'm gonna come back to this in just a second too, and I wanna tell another story. But we really need to give ourselves space to be creative, to let our subconscious mind work, to let the ideas simmer. If you didn't post in 6 days, I promise you, posting on day 7 is not gonna save you. Your audience isn't going anywhere. It's been 6 days. They can wait an 8th day. They can wait a 9th day. It's okay. In fact, it might be better for you to wait so you can post something that's a little more intentional and a little more thought out and maybe even a little bit more creative and fun for you. And creativity and fun, honestly, is the point. So what tends to end up happening is whether you're consistent or not, if the process is forced or you're not giving yourself time to really consider things, that these thousands of ideas that are in your head just ends up being like, let me just get the thing that's on the top of my mind out on the paper, and then it's not as intentional. Or what also ends up happening is that we feel like, okay, I haven't posted in a while. This post needs to be all encompassing. I have to say everything in this one post to make sure everybody understands what I do and how much I can help. And an all-encompassing idea oftentimes is a very general idea. And being general doesn't sell. Now, I'll tell you what, being general actually might help you go viral. And what I've noticed from virality and studying content and scrolling through TikTok and my Reels page is that generality actually is more likely to go viral. But virality doesn't equal sales. If general equals virality, but generality does not equal sales, and virality does also not always equal sales. And I was at my good buddy Sergio's place, previous client. We were doing a podcast together. It's probably the episode right before this, maybe, I don't know, look for Sergio. But we were talking before we were recording, and he's like, a buddy of mine was a marketer for Mike Tyson. Hopefully I'm able to share this. I'll get confirmation, and if not, we'll have to cut this out. But he's a marketer for Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson has 22.5 million followers on Instagram alone. 22.5 million Instagram followers. And they go to release this new product. In fact, maybe I just won't say what the product is. They go to release this new product, and it bombs. And I'm sure they had goals, and my buddy didn't tell me what the goals were or what the results were, but they expected to make a lot of money from this new offer, and it didn't sell. They didn't hit nearly their revenue goals. Why? Because just having 22.5 million followers doesn't mean you can just sell whatever the fuck you want. You want to be known for something, and being known for something means you get more specific. Now, again, without saying what the product was that Mike Tyson was selling, you think Mike Tyson, you don't think of this product. You think Mike Tyson, you think boxing, right? I don't know if you think anything else, but you think boxing, fighting. And he sold something that wasn't that, and it bombed. No crap. If he came out with boxing gloves, I bet they would have crushed, right? Even if he came out with a book on his autobiography, I'm sure that would have sold better than this other product. So just being viral, and even someone like Mike Tyson having 22.5 million followers doesn't mean you can just sell. So we're not going for virality here. We're not going for general content. We want to get more specific, and specificity sells, okay? And so how do we get more specific, and how do we get these ideas out of our head to be more specific? And this is what really comes down to space, and creating space for yourself to get more specific. And it all comes down to the stuff you've experienced. A lot of my followers, a lot of you listeners are online coaches. I know some of you are more creatives, maybe you're artists, but even still, in your art, there's personality, right? You're expressing your emotion, and emotion sells. If facts sold and being the best is what sold, then there wouldn't be room for anyone. Only the best person would make sales, because we would go, that person's the best. They've proven they're the best. Let's buy from them. In fact, nobody would buy from me, right? Because I only have 3,000 followers. I don't have all this proof. I haven't worked as a brand consultant for Nike. So why would anyone buy from me? But people do buy from me. Why? Because it's about emotion and personality and storytelling and getting more specific with your content. So what you really want to do for yourself to get more specific is to give yourself the space to be creative, to get more specific, to think about what it is you are trying to say in this specific video. Instead of trying to say everything in one piece of content, know that content is an ecosystem. One of my mentors, Brandon Lucero, would say content is an ecosystem. It is not one post that creates a buyer, but it's post after post after post after post that builds the brand. And a brand is not colors or logos or anything like that. A brand is someone's gut feeling about a product or a person or an offer. And so we are one by one piece of content, building our brand, and we're building this gut feeling to get people emotionally invested in us and the thing that we're selling, so that they go, I don't care what Matt's selling, I will buy it because I fucking love him and I trust him. And that's what you're trying to create for yourself. So you need to create the space to do this. My biggest recommendation, the thing that has changed the game for me, is silence. You want to create silence for yourself. And silence doesn't mean you have to sit down and meditate, but it could be like me going on a run, no headphones, unplugged, go for a run. It could be playing an instrument. Now, I wouldn't say practicing an instrument because that's ultimately a lot of thinking's involved and you'll be really focused on the instrument. But if you're someone who's like really good at guitar and you can just sit there and kind of jam out on some chords and solo a little bit while your mind just kind of wanders, that's what we want. We want to turn off your thinking brain and we want to allow the non-subconscious brain to come through, and we want to allow space for those creative ideas. And you can imagine when you have a creative idea, it's never a very general idea, right? It's never something like, how did I accomplish my dreams? Well, I ignored the naysayers and just went for it. Like that would be a very general, like, how do you go for your dreams? But you would think about yourself and you go, how did I go for my dreams? Well, what are my dreams? Well, my dream was to be, the best personal trainer in the world. That everybody in Colorado would come see me and I'd be on all these podcasts. I'd be on Barbell Shrugged and I'd be on Mind Pump. And you see how now these goals are specific. It's not accomplishing dreams. It's the name of this podcast and the name of this podcast. And I'd be the best personal trainer in Colorado before the world, right? And you pick your specific state that you're in. And now these specifics starts to come out. So when you give yourself space to think and create, you have all the answers. And then you're like, no, I'm going to make content. This isn't going to resonate with anyone. I'm going to make general content. And that's when it doesn't convert to sales because you're not hitting anyone on an emotional level. So if you can create space for yourself to think, and one of the best ways to create space, I think the running, playing an instrument, if it is meditating, that's all great. But one of the best and most effective ways to create space is to write. Now, if you think you don't have the space to write, it's kind of like meditation. If you don't have time to meditate, if you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, you need to meditate for 10. I would say it's the exact same thing for writing. If you don't have space for writing, well, that's probably why your content isn't landing. That's probably why you feel like you're copying a lot of people. That's probably why you feel like you're not creative because you don't have the space to be creative. So I would recommend an hour of space to write. Block out an hour. Put your headphones on. Put some freaking lo-fi music going. Do-do. Do-do. Put some lo-fi on and let yourself write. And let the pen go and don't stop writing. And this is what's going to allow you to start to get these thousands of ideas out of your head and start to get more specific on a specific thing that you can help with. So again, when we just kind of flow from the top of the brain and I have these 1,000 ideas, I haven't made content in 6 days, let me just say something. This is when it becomes very general because you have thousands of ideas that you're trying to compact into one. What I would rather you do is take one idea and dive into it. So whatever comes up for you while you're journaling, take that idea and dive into it. Ask yourself a million questions on that idea. And so I want to give you an example of what I did for myself. I did a little meta practice. I'm like, okay, if I was going to coach young Matt 5 years ago, he just left New York City to be a full-time personal trainer. Maybe let's call it Matt 4.5 years ago. He's a personal trainer. He wants to get on social media and market himself. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. If I, Matt right now, was going to coach Matt the personal trainer, here's what I would do. And this is a practice for me right now as the marketing pro. This is not I'm not trying to help. I'm not trying to be a personal trainer, right? I'm trying to get better at my craft. So I go, okay, if I'm going to get really good at my craft, I'm going to practice this. How would I help myself 5 years ago as a personal trainer? Just as if one of you came to me as a client. This is basically what I'm doing, right? So I go, okay, young Matt, first question. This is where you can start with your journal. What tangibly changed for you, Matt, in your fitness journey? And Matt, even Matt right now, but if I was talking to Matt, the personal trainer, 4.5 years ago, I would say, Matt, what tangibly changed for you throughout your fitness journey? And I could just start writing about my fitness journey. I'd go back to 14 years old when I started in the gym and what I was doing. Freshman year of high school, what happened? Senior year of high school, I remember bench pressing twice a week, and I finally hit 225 pounds. That's 4 plates, baby. I'll never forget that moment. But you know what I was also doing? Skipping leg day. I would do leg day. It would hurt so badly. I wouldn't be able to sit on the toilet, and then I wouldn't do leg day for, 3 weeks, maybe more. And my buddy who was in the gym, he would do leg day twice a week. So I would do chest twice a week. He would do legs twice a week. And guess what? We would hit batting practice senior year of high school, and he'd be like smashing home runs, and I'd be like two hopping the fence. And he's like, you should just join me for leg day. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, probably, probably not. Turns out I hit 2 home runs that year. He only hit 1. So, it's not all in the legs. But I diverged from my point. So I'd ask myself that. And then I would just kind of start combing through this fitness journey. And then I could bring myself to, I literally did this, so I'm telling you what happened. So then I journaled and I was like, well, in 2017, I found CrossFit. Now I had this perception about CrossFit, and I realized, my girlfriend went, she's like, you'll love CrossFit. And I was like, okay, I don't actually really know anything about it. Put my judgments aside, let's try it. I fell in love. What happened in CrossFit after 4 or 5 months? And by the way, I'd been eating healthy for like freaking my whole damn life. This is 2017, graduated in 2012. When I moved out of college, I ate so healthy for 5 years. Never had a six-pack. Never had a freaking six-pack. I've been lifting since 14 years old, was consistent, ate healthy, never really got a six-pack. I do CrossFit for 4 or 5 months, I get a six-pack. Holy shit, this is fucking sick. And then that fall, I joined a softball league. I was playing shortstop. And I'll never forget, I'm playing shortstop, and a line drive is hit to my right side. And I go to move to it, and I you know how fast your thoughts work? I immediately go, oh God, this ball is definitely going by me. Like, I'm probably gonna have to die for this. And my pivot 2 steps, bam, or maybe like a step. Pivot, step, caught the line drive. Didn't have to dive. And I'm like, holy shit, I am quick. And I remember after that game, I was like, dude, I'm so quick because like I'm doing snatches and cleans and like plyometrics, stuff that I never used to do. We're doing that in CrossFit. So I'm fitter than ever. I finally have a six-pack. I'm playing softball like a damn boss. And like, I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole life. I'm a good athlete. I was never the top athlete. Maybe senior year in baseball I was. But for the most part, I was like the upper tier of an athlete and was always fast. But I'm 28 years old now, and I've never looked better. And I'm faster than I think I've ever been. I'm quicker than I have ever been. And so I'm like, holy shit. Okay, Matt, personal trainer Matt, what is it then? It's CrossFit. It's CrossFit that has gotten you a six-pack and makes you a better like co-ed athlete. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, maybe it's CrossFit, but I was like, you know what it really is? It's probably legs. I'm finally doing legs consistently, like a few times a week. I'm doing leg day. I'm not skipping leg day. I'm getting stronger. And I think building up my legs is the reason why, building that muscle is the reason why I was finally able to get that six-pack. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, okay, this might be it. All right, so now we're talking about content, right? All right, Matt, 4.5 years ago, you're gonna market yourself to become the best personal trainer. So you could teach everything, right? This is where it goes back to. I have 1,000 ideas. Chest workout, shoulder workout, legs. You could do sprints, and we could talk about nutrition and sleep and recovery and mindset. I could talk about all these things. But I was like, Matt, 4.5 years ago, right? This is me right now. If I was coaching Matt 4.5 years ago, like, dude, this is it. Let's play with this for a little bit. Let's see how much content we can make about this. Okay, you are no longer skipping leg day. But let's put CrossFit aside. CrossFit might be it, but like, you're actually doing legs. So you never skip leg day. You've been going to the gym consistently forever. You eat healthy. You've never had a six-pack, but now you finally have a six-pack. And you're the best athlete you've ever been at 28 years old. Do you think there are other men in this world who've been working out for, that's 2008. I started working out 14. That's 14 years. Half of my life I've been working out. Never had a six-pack. Had a four-pack, not a six-pack. You think there are other men in this world who have been lifting for over 10 years, but don't have the body they want, never got the six-pack, but have been lifting, right? They've been doing the bodybuilding, Monday chest day, Tuesday back and bi, right? They've been doing that stuff. You don't think there are other men out there like that? That I could say like, yo, let's start doing fucking leg day consistently. This is the key. And also, I also know that you love playing softball and you're not as good as you once were. Well, what if I said you could be a better athlete than you were at 18, a better athlete than you were in college playing, co-ed softball, whatever. And when you go out and play softball and basketball with your buddies, and your buddy's like, hey, we need an extra player for our soccer team. These are all things that have happened to me, that you would still have it. You still got it. Not only do you still got it, but if you take your shirt off because you got all sweaty and you took your shirt off to change, that you would look fucking sexy as hell too. Finally, for the first time in your life, you got that six-pack because you're doing leg day. And if I just became like the leg day guy for the 30-year-old who doesn't want the dad bod anymore, who's never had it, and wants to go out and like crush softball and maybe join baseball again, like I'm just telling my story. And so now through this journal practice, I have uncovered all these little, very specific details And so instead of making this general content about like, hey, leg day, or even like, like let's stick with leg day. Even if I said leg day will help you get fit, it's like, no. This is what I would do instead. This is how I'd start my content. You've been lifting for over 10 years and have never had a six pack. I'm willing to bet you're even still playing co-ed softball and sports, but are kind of losing your edge. What if I told you? And then I would say, I bet all this lifting, you've been in the gym doing chest day Monday, back and bis Tuesday, you've been eating healthy, none of this stuff feels like it's working like it could be. How come you can't have the body that you see these other people have with these six packs? I'm gonna tell you exactly how. That won't go viral. That probably won't go viral. It might. It might. You never know these days. But what that would do is that would make someone feel seen, heard, and understood. And that would make them go, oh my God, Matt is talking right to me. And if Matt knows exactly how I feel, if Matt knows exactly, I've been working out for 10 years plus, I've been eating healthy, I'm in the gym doing your classic bodybuilding days, and I just want to look sexy, man. I just want to like hit home runs in softball like I used to. I want to be able to get to that ball to my right side. If Matt knows me like that, I'll buy anything he sells. And this is the difference. But the problem is that you're always in such a rush to make content. But content's everything. Not content necessarily, but your messaging is everything. If nobody knows about you, who's gonna buy it? I've talked to a lot of people who are really good at what they do and they get a ton of referrals. And like, business is great. I get a lot of referrals, but they're ready for more. They're ready to stand out. But you don't stand out by being general. You get really specific with your content and you speak to those people. You allow them to feel seen, heard, and understood. This is relationship marketing. It's relationship marketing. It's not marketing. It's not speaking to the masses. It's a relationship. And you want to build a relationship by allowing the past version of you to feel seen, heard, and understood. And how much would this 25-year-old version of Matt, this college version of Matt, feel seen, heard, and understood if I said you've been working out for 8 years, doing the classic bodybuilding days, still don't have a six-pack. You're even eating healthy, still don't have a six-pack. I got you. And he would go, oh my God, I trust you. I trust you so much because you're speaking directly to me. I finally feel seen and heard. And when you allow someone to feel seen and heard, they feel safe. And when someone feels safe, then they're finally able to do the thing they probably already knew they were able to, that they should be doing. Matt already knew he should be doing leg day, but he wasn't doing it. Why? Never felt safe. Never felt safe. Never felt heard. Never had someone to support him like that. And if it only came down to information, if we were just gonna pump information to everybody, then there would be no online coaches. We would have Google. We would Google our problems and we would just do what Google says, and then we would just go out and do the thing and we wouldn't have problems. But people don't take action with all this information. They take action when they're emotionally committed, when they feel safety and trust in the information that they're getting. And then we can go down the deeper coaching things of like breaking people's beliefs. There might be trauma there and all that stuff. We're not gonna talk about that today, but this is the process I would take. This is the process I do take to breaking down all these ideas I have. Thousands of ideas in my head. How can I get more specific? How can I speak directly to Matt? And then not only that, but then we wanna tell stories, which is kind of what I've been doing this entire podcast. We would tell stories. And even if none of this is true for you, you probably found yourself in these stories that I've told today. You probably found yourself, if it wasn't lifting, whatever your journey is, right? You place yourself in the story because we as humans have a deep desire to connect. So you tell stories in your content about a very specific thing. Stories aren't all-encompassing stories. They never really are. Most stories are about one specific thing, one journey and one moment that somebody's trying to overcome, right? To make this transformation. And it's a very specific journey. And so with each piece of content, what purpose does this content serve? And each time you make content, you want to be very intentional about that. You want to be very intentional about like, what's the point here? And if you find yourself being like, I'm trying to tell them how good I am. I'm trying to tell them everything, right? I'm a life coach and there isn't one specific thing because I help people with everything. Relationships with their boss, a relationship with their spouse, relationship with their mom and dad and brothers and sisters, and a relationship with money. And they're not in the right job. They actually hate their job. So we're trying to help them uncover what they really love about life. And also their health is fucked up and they have bad relationship with food. And like, okay, life coach, you're gonna talk about all that shit in one post? Who are you talking to if you're trying to cover all of that? You talk to nobody. Get specific. Allow people to feel seen and heard. Give yourself the space to journal on a topic and get your story out. And the more specifics you can share, the more you allow people to feel seen and heard, to feel safe. And that's when they start to fall in love. just like you are in love with your partner or you love your best friend. Why? Because you feel safe with them. You can tell them anything. And when you feel safe with somebody and you fall in love with somebody, then you'll, not from your spouse probably, but you'll buy what they're selling because you trust them. You don't even have to sell to people. They'll just buy it. That's it for today's episode. Love you guys. Peace out.